First, welcome everyone. My name is Kellyn Gorman. I am a principal cloud solution architect. I have many a title that I go by. SME for Oracle on Azure. Yes, I am an odd duck. I do Oracle at Microsoft. I have been with Oracle, or I've been with Microsoft for the last 4 years, but I have also worked at Oracle. I live in Portland, Oregon, so the middle of pretty much the edge over by the Columbia River on a floating home, which is awesome. I spoke the other day, so you probably saw pictures of where I am. It's wonderful here. I have been a DBA and a DevOps engineer for about 25 years. I've been an ADHD person for my entire life. And I do have my connections there. If you follow me on Twitter, I apologize. I'm extremely noisy. My ADHD probably shows up there more than anywhere else. And if you ask me about ADHD, I never think of it as part of mental health. I'm always surprised when it's kind of is brought in with neurodiversity, I understand, but mental health, I never thought of it that way because I think of ADHD as standing for attention deficit hyperactive dynamic. I'm extremely dynamic. I'm extremely successful with it. And folks have always asked me, how do you do it? How can you share that? So that's what this session is about. I have grown up with ADHD. I was the traditional ADHD kid when I was a child. It was just that I grew up in a time of the 60s. You may not know that I look a lot younger than my age, but I am in that age group. I have 5 kids from ages 21 to 31. So yeah, I'm a lot older than I appear. And, I was hearing you're not living up to your potential. Oh, you're just, you're not living up to what we thought you would be. You're lazy. You're, all these different things. Pay attention. Kellyn's just daydreaming again, not really realizing that it was ADHD. It is a mindset. And I talk very fast. I enunciate very well, but I do talk fast. Especially if you've given me coffee, I'm climbing the walls. I have, of course, 5 children, which because ADHD is hereditary, as well as culture driven, it's seen in all of them as well. There's a lot of misinformation about ADHD. I can admit that when my first child was diagnosed with ADHD, I thought it meant that I was a bad parent. And then suddenly they were recognizing the symptoms myself. I wasn't diagnosed officially with ADHD until I was almost in my 40s. And understanding all that confusion and the lack of knowledge and the challenges around it, I think it's getting easier to talk about. But for a long time, I was told not to discuss it. Public education is really made for somebody with average attention span, and that ADHD really isn't very good for kids when they're going into public education and dealing with the expectations that they will be able to focus in this idea that I will teach to you and you will just absorb it and learn, where most ADHDers are those that need interactive situations to learn past. That communication and questions, open-ended questions that they're discussing that keeps those attention levels up. So we'll talk about what ADHD is, how most people are affected by it. We all have unique brains, so we're all kind of affected individually, but what coping mechanisms, tools are out there, solutions that may help you. So this is kind of how my brain works. I describe it as like 25 different McDonald's drive-thrus all open at the same time, taking in orders. I handle an incredible workload. I am paired up often with somebody that is extremely meticulous, that is more detail-oriented, that may not be able to get through huge workloads. I'm the workhorse. I get through 90% of it and am doing just this major, massive, amount of work that I can get through. And then that last little I needs dotting, I'll miss that. T that needs crossing, I'll miss that. That's me. So when you match me up with somebody who might be a little bit more detail oriented, they'll come back through and do the last little things, and we can accomplish things that nobody else could. My husband has a tendency to be that too, and we will discuss that. My spouse is my teammate on my last 2 companies that I've worked with. We are probably about 80% of the technical specialty around Oracle on Azure, and we're in the same floating home. Don't know what that says about HA for Azure for Oracle, but we enjoy what we do. If you have any questions as I'm going along, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'll try to check the chat every once in a while because I am on my PC here. I may have to bring down the slides. I don't have two monitors as I usually do. So what's going on when you have ADHD? A lot of this has to do with your temporal lobes and the activity levels. A lot of folks are going, why would you give stimulants to somebody who's hyperactive? Hyperactivity is really a loss of control. A loss of control because your brain has lost these activity levels, the temporal lobes, it's low, and then you lose that control over your activity as in your sense of motion. You might be fidgeting, you might be playing with a card, you may be speaking fast, you may be darting around, distracted by things. It's all about a loss of self-control because of that. You do better when you have interactive situations. You'll be like, they can play a game. I'm looking at my kid. He's very attentive with that game because it's interactive and it keeps those activity levels up in, the neurotransmitters and everything. They're connecting more normally. When people are frustrated by this, they're like, he can't pay attention during class, but he can pay attention during this arcade game or something that intrigues them and keeps those activity levels up in the brain. It can be incredibly demoralizing. So most people who have ADHD have been taught to hide it, to come up with excuses. So it's really impactful when we start talking about to our education, to our relationships, our career, and even your quality of life. They find that people with ADHD have higher incidence of health issues, depression, things like that can be impacted because of the challenges that we have of dealing with ADHD as just a mindset. You may hear, oh, well, the US has more incidence of ADHD than what we see in other countries. There's a study that says, through research of historical means of what it took to discover a new world, the side of the planet, and to actually, deal with the challenges that were there. I have an ancestor that we talk about, Antoine de la Motte, who discovered Detroit. You can tell I'm French by that history and that pronunciation. And when he came to this country, he came here to the Nova Scotia area in Canada, and he looked around and noticed that nobody was taking charge. Nobody was really paying attention. He says, I'm a nobleman. And everybody said, oh, cool, you're a nobleman. He wasn't. They just followed him. And he says, it worked out pretty well. He's just thinking off the cuff. He wants to be more involved. He's just doing what needs to be done. And he says, I'm in charge of the militia. And they said, okay, you're in charge of the militia. And they followed him. He was very much an ADHD mindset. That's what it took to get through in this world. It wasn't people that were happy working in a factory. It wasn't those farmers that were happy doing the same thing every day. It was somebody who needed new, exciting things and things that kept their attention going. That was more of an ADHD mindset. And let me explain why there are higher levels of ADHD discovered in the US versus other countries. So what are the three primary types of ADHD? There are more than this. Dr. Benjamin Ahmed talks about up to 6 to 7 types of ADHD. Many of those are comorbid situations where they may have other issues such as bipolar disorder, depression, may have more intelligence when we start talking about different types of intelligence versus emotional intelligence versus high IQ with factual data in that. You have inattentive presentation, which is my oldest son. More executive dysfunction, can't get started, inattention to detail. Even though they get all these high detail issues covered, the simple details they miss can be very frustrating. The easy things they miss, complicated things they get. Difficulty with paying attention, unable to follow instruction, to remember conversations. This is very common in inattentive presentation of ADHD. Hyperactive impulsive presentation. Very talkative, may speak fast. Guess which one I fall into? Unable to sit still, fidgets. I have a tendency for my foot to just do this constantly if I'm not taking my ADHD medication. I'm restless, poor sleep patterns. I was up at 1 o'clock this morning. My brain was going with brilliant ideas that would be awesome if I would write down. But do I do it? Many times I'm just trying to get myself to go back to sleep. Impulsive, lack of control. I don't have that as much. And keep in mind, you may have different combined presentations, which is the third one. Accident prone. This is my second child. She is so accident prone. Her phone, she's like, I don't know what happened to my smartphone, mommy. It just exploded. No, the kid is just accident prone. Her technology is going to be busted. Her screens are going to be busted. She just is that way. So 41% of adults consider the impact from it as severe. We often think that ADHD is something we see in kids. The truth is that we may just have better coping mechanisms as we get older. I know I did. We were dealing with it. Maybe it wasn't diagnosed and we had to figure out ways to be successful. Worst cases of ADHD, as we stated, could reduce your life expectancy. Some of them, they say by 25 years. That's a lot. It's not just anxiety, self-harm. We may talk about, depression, impulsive behaviors create risk. This is very true with boys with ADHD, but also can be seen in girls. You may say, is it different for men versus women? Our brains are wired a little bit different because of hormones as well. Not just the left and right hemispheres may be connected a little differently, but we also, I'm seeing my lights go down, so I'm moving in here. We also have these challenges. As I start to hit the light switch, you would hate to have my presentation in the dark. We also have these challenges with impulsive behaviors and how our brains are wired as men and women about, here we go, gray matter. Men have more gray matter, women have more white matter in our brain. Our IQs on average are equal. We both have high IQs, there's no difference there, but our brains are wired a little bit differently, so we may be affected by ADHD a little differently, and be aware of that. But there's definitely impacts to career and relationships. If you've got somebody that's extremely impulsive or that their job is affected by ADHD, it can be an issue. And of course, that overall quality of life is addressed with that too. Okay, back on track now that we got the lights working. ADHD is often viewed as a problem for children, and especially with boys, but 60% of adults also have a problem with ADHD. It's not something that goes away as you become an adult. You may be viewed as being incompetent. The airheaded woman, and she's not. She's just dealing with some of her ADHD tendencies. Is there a question? I heard somebody come off mute. Let me know if there is. Very glad to answer it. Coping mechanisms are highly developed as we become adults, and especially for women. Women, they found, were had more of a tendency to look internally for solutions to their ADHD. Men were raised, because, we talk about biases start very early on, even sometimes before we're born, that men had a tendency to look more externally for solutions to their ADHD versus women that were looking for coping mechanisms and blamed themselves for their ADHD tendencies, may have higher coping mechanisms to deal with it. And ADHD runs rampant in the tech industry. This is some great data. The links are down there at the bottom right of this slide if you're interested in it, that took by industry suspected versus confirmed. That meant they were formally diagnosed by industry. Look at the gaming industry first off. Next is technology. Confirmed versus suspected ADHD. The percentage is extremely high. We're talking close to 40% for suspected, and then confirmed is close to 20%. I think it's probably higher. I have one friend that runs a blog site that says she's the ADHD OCD DBA. Yeah, it covers a big spectrum there, a big spectrum. But the percentage is high. Sales also has very similar numbers. Versus when we start talking about banking or finance, of course, those are more tedious, exacting, detailed positions. They're not going to attract people with ADHD. You think about all the things that we can do in tech. If you're interested in taking on a technical challenge, who's going to stop you if you're in tech? That we can go into hardware, software, web development. It doesn't matter if we're creative, if we're highly detailed, analytical. There's so much that we can do in tech that it keeps us very intrigued and very interested. And of course, our activity levels are going to stay up higher. We're going to be more successful. Biggest complaints of ADHD, executive dysfunction, getting started. I like to call it begin the begin. It's the only way to do things. Procrastination is probably our worst enemy. Being disorganized. I am one that keeps my world very organized. I like it clean. I don't like a lot of clutter. If my world is chaos, I'm chaos. I absolutely believe in that. Being on time, keeping appointments. My phone tells me where I should be, same thing with my watch. All times during the day, we'll talk about that. Lack of attention, inability to transition. That means moving from one thing on one screen to another, flipping between screens. You have trouble doing that. Reading one page and going to the next to answer questions, you can't remember what you read. Inability to transition from tasks, those kind of things. Procrastination, inability to complete tasks. You may do 95%, just not that last little 5. You know you need to get back to it, but in your brain, you've already finished it. Learning disorders are often very present, especially like dyslexia is very common with ADHDers. Their brain is moving so fast, being able to keep the letters in order may be difficult. Internal preoccupation, our brain, those 25 channels may be going, not able to bring in our blinders so that we can focus. And miscommunication or incomplete communication. When we go back, if it's in a written word, you may find that it says something very different than what you thought it said. So what is executive dysfunction and how do we address it? Try not to overthink things. Overthinking can be very overwhelming. Again, we have all those channels going on. Break it down into small bite-sized pieces, small goals. Another way of addressing it is to-do lists, including emails. I love Outlook that I can right-click on something or click up on the top right and make a to-do list out of it, make a task out of it. That keeps me on track. That I have meeting notices that show me the latest emails that go with that and what I might need to know. Those are all automated things that can help us get through this in executive dysfunction by getting us moving forward and getting us to begin. Schedule to begin a task and open end time. I have a tendency to set aside focus time that says, this is my time to let my brain get done on my tasks. And if I get stuck on something, I'll switch to something else and come back to it. I know that sometimes I'm going to get stuck. Disorganization, again, I remove all clutter. If you don't need it, get rid of it. Don't think that someday you'll need it. I have a bag by my door that is for giveaway, and I'm constantly putting stuff in it. If it's easy to do, it'll be easier to get rid of. Schedule time for designated tasks, email, daily cleanup, all of that. It keeps it from becoming overwhelming. A lot of times things they're this large situation that we need to address, and it just seems like too much, and we won't start it. If it's available, outsource those weak points. House cleaning, grocery shopping. I love like Shipt, Instacart, Amazon. Amazon has, I don't tell Microsoft that, I don't do AWS, but I do love like Amazon that things just come to the door. While I'm thinking about it, I'll just buy it real quick and it'll show up in my house and I don't have to remember it when I'm out. I simplify clothing choices. I keep copies of important documents everywhere. Like I have a suitcase packed with all the things that I need all the time other than my clothes. So I don't have to worry about forgetting, my shampoo or forgetting, kind of my documents saying that I've got my vaccinations, things like that. Things that you can do that you don't have to think about. It's automated for you. Keeping timeliness. I keep a single calendar and I make sure that they all sync. If people send it through a different email address than the one that I should have it, I'll forward it on and I ask them to use the right one. I pad the amount of time that I need. People be like, oh, I have a meeting scheduled for right after this talk. And I'm like, no. It's too soon. Give me a window that I can catch up again. I use my smartphone and my watch. For women, a lot of times our phone may not fit in our pockets because our pockets aren't often very usable. So I love my smartwatch. My smartwatch vibrates and it only notifies me of things I absolutely know, so it doesn't become white noise. It's only the things that I need, and it tells me when I need to pay attention and when I need to go somewhere. And then I have all my meetings in there. Only notify yourself of what you need. Never create anything that's white noise. Fake notifications, things you absolutely don't need to know about, is going to make you ignore things, and then you can ignore something that's absolutely required that you know about, that's critical. Distraction. People don't realize that when you have ADHD, there can be odd things like somebody typing or somebody talking on a phone that sounds like nails down a chalkboard. That is ADHD. It is a distraction that pulls all of your focus away from what you need to know about. And, that's when the snail becomes too loud. Ticking on a clock becomes too loud. Somebody chewing bubble gum. These are extremely essential when you're trying to describe to somebody who doesn't have ADHD what it's like. So how do you help your attention? Try to train it. I have hobbies to try to extend my focus. So I read, I do yoga, meditation, word games. I will go to my island on Animal Crossing and reorganize all the flowers. People think that's the weirdest thing, but it's something that's very meticulous and helps me get back to extend my focus. I'm not allowed to do anything else until I get all those flowers organized. And it sounds strange, but ADHD, along with being those activity levels, you can help train them and focus them and realize that some ADHD tendencies can be cultural. We have a very ADHD society where it's constant flashes and distractions, especially with Zoom and social media and everything else, and that helping to train your brain to do things like meditation of sitting 10 minutes and you're not allowed to do anything but just empty your brain helps refocus that brain and train it to extend it, just like you're training a muscle, exercising to get it stronger. You're trying to strengthen your attention. Think about what takes away your attention. If you have somebody who is constantly sending you emails, definitely get into your inbox and filter everything away. Set up rules to put them into subfolders. If anybody, we're all having this problem, especially now that we're working from home. Microsoft's worried about those people that may not be used to it. So they have all of these wellness emails and meetings that you can come in and do yoga from home and all this other stuff. All of that goes into a folder for me. That's a waste of time. I've worked from home for 13 years. I love it. I don't need the distraction. So I put those automatically with rules elsewhere. I don't need the white noise. So get rid of that. I have tasks that come in and help me transition. If I am not getting my nutrition, my rest that I need, I'm going to have problems there. There are some documented, sweeteners, artificial colors that absolutely are not good for you. People be like, oh, well, I'm not going to eat less sugar. Absolutely. Stay away from sugar, but don't replace it with sweeteners. Most artificial sweeteners have been tested and shown to extend ADHD symptoms. They will make them worse. Same thing with artificial colors, especially like reds and that. They have terrible times with them. Look it up, find out, remove them from your diet and see if your ADHD symptoms don't improve. I removed them all from my children's diet, and I was able to decrease the amount of ADHD medication that they required to get through the day. My youngest stayed on 5 milligrams, which is a very, very tiny actual prescription for him to be able to get through high school even. And he has terrible, terrible ADHD. And when your attention is waning, not yielding results, you're not able to get through a task, give yourself a break. And don't punish yourself for it. Walk away, give yourself that time, understand that you need that. When those attention levels go down, you need to find a way to raise them back up. This is how your mind works. Reward yourself. Take a break, go for a walk. And sometimes you'll find your attention level solution miraculously, and you can come back and fix it. Let yourself regain that focus. And limit distractions, noise canceling headphones. I live by noise canceling headphones. I have about 4 main pairs. I have noise canceling sleep headphones, my sleep buds from Bose. I have Cocoons, which are sleep ones. These are headphones that you can wear even as a side sleeper because I am distracted by every noise at night and I want to make sure I get a good night's sleep. So procrastination, inability to complete tasks. Think about performing the small bite-sized pieces. Try small tasks, as many as possible. Reward yourself for getting small tasks done so your attention level goes up and you feel better about taking on the next task. And then go in and reward yourself, like I said, and look at that as a small task, breaking it down. So even if somebody assigns you a large task, start to break it down and take breaks and reward yourself, like go and play, like you see here, Nintendo Switch. This is when I go on my island and I get away from everyone and no one else can bother me and I enjoy myself. And since those learning disorders are also present, address those and get tools to help you with that. I'm going to skip through this one because I know we're going to run out of time because I'm enjoying myself as I talk through this. Internal preoccupation and transitioning. I have multiple monitors, make it easier to transition. If you're having trouble, inability to transition between tasks, let yourself complete that task. If somebody has a tendency to do what I call drive-bys, come to your desk and interrupt you while you're in the middle of something, say, can you send that to me in an email maybe? Follow up with an email. I'm really busy with something. Make them go away. Let them know it's the best way to work. Headphones really work well. Move your desk so your back is away from there with headphones. We'll tell them that you can't be interrupted. Have a sign that says, busy focusing, please do not interrupt. Make sure that you are as successful as possible if you have problems with that kind of transitioning. Racing thoughts, find ways to bring your thoughts back down. Find optimal scenarios, keep yourself from overthinking things. Communication, speaking, count to 5 before answering. Help with our interruptions. We have a tendency to interrupt a lot. I know I do this. I had to learn to do this very well. Focus on the goal of what you want to say. We can easily start going rampant. You will find me doing that all the time, bringing myself back to my goal of what I want to complete in my conversation. If I'm hyper-focusing, ask somebody if they can come talk to you later, let you finish your task, finish what you're doing, because you just can't let go of it. And you know if you let go of it, it's all going to go away. Demonstrate. Here goes our lights again. I'm really going to hate this office. Look, it knows that I'm here again. Stress and frustration, anger can exacerbate those ADHD issues. It'll cause you may blurt out. You can clam up. I used to do that. I would get absolutely silent or I would ramble. It may be best to say, could we talk about this later? Let me think about this. I need some time to kind of just work through this conversation. This was really interesting. Thank you so much. But I'm going to have to come back to this. Don't be afraid to say, this is not the time for me, best time for me to discuss this with you. Listening. Verify that people are feeling that you're heard. They're heard by you. Make sure that you have patterns. You can produce options to address it. How can you get better for active listening? We have a tendency that we're 10 steps ahead of a lot of other people, and we know that. We're like, we already see the answer. Let us show you the way. You may need to step back and let other people catch up. Have one-on-one conversations. We're much better in one-on-one than large groups. Large groups can be very distracting, and it can keep us from being one-on-one with that conversation, not just one-on-one with people. And be aware how much pragmatic conversation we are privy to. We can be aware of everyone in the room. That person is having trouble and they're disagreeing with the other person in this conversation. This person here is, ordering a drink and doesn't, we know everything going on. That is very valuable to a lot of people, that they don't realize we're privy to that information, but it can also be very distracting and keep us from being really in the moment. The emotional toll. A lot of men especially are known with ADHD to have less anger control, but that doesn't mean that women are, immune to this. We have problems too. We may cry without feeling sad. I remember this all the time, that before I was given ADHD medication, somebody come up and go, hey, Kellyn, how's it going today? And tears would come down. I'm like, I'm not even sad. Why am I crying? This is absolutely a symptom of women with ADHD, is crying with no reason whatsoever. We're crying at McDonald's commercials, things like that. Laughing when nervous is another symptom of ADHD, that we lost, remember, hyperactivity, loss of self-control. We may be non-reactive. We may have learned to bottle it all up and not react again. We've lost control over that situation. We're not able to react to it. We may come across as insensitive, especially with people that may have a comorbid situation where they also are on the spectrum. They may be more Asperger's. I'm actually the opposite, and we're going to talk about what is the difference between hypersensitive and hyper-aware. Hypersensitive is different than oversensitive. Oversensitive means you react to everybody's emotions because you may be very aware of them. Hypersensitive, hyper-awareness of other people. This is what I am. I am aware of everybody's feelings, their emotions, things they're not even physically saying. This gets into awareness of, everybody's hyper reactions, the little non-spoken things. I am aware when I can walk into a room in 5 minutes, tell you, are they the oldest, the middle child? Do they have brothers or sisters? When were they probably born? I know all of that information. Who are they going to work well with? Who they're not going to get along with? I know all of that. And I can read a situation, read a room within about 2 minutes. But I'm taking all that data in Do I overreact to it? Do I think it's me? No, I'm very aware when it's other people's problems too. I'm very good at doing that. And I can deal with those people and kind of adjust and adapt. And that is something that's the opposite when you talk about somebody who is more Asperger's, who would have trouble reading somebody's emotions. I read everybody's emotions. So office space, open space. If any of you ever done this and you have ADHD, you know it. You walk into an open office environment, you're like, oh, heck no, I'm not staying here. Rearrange, so you're looking at the wall. Rearrange, so maybe you're looking out a window. Get your noise canceling headphones. Do not disturb signs. Awesome. You've got to do these things. This is probably the worst invention of the 20th century. We know it. We feel it. We hate it. I started working from home as soon as the open office space concept came into the world. Noise canceling sound, the white noise sound, that is not enough to get this out of my head. I hate it. Work from home environments, you need structure, build out with scheduling. Web meetings, timers. I love working from home. It is my life. I adore it. I never want to go back into an office again. But if you're having trouble, if you get into a monotonous situation and your activity levels are going down, you're having trouble getting started, consider going out to a coffee house, change your venue. You may find that all of a sudden your activity levels go up and you can pound out work. I do that. I go to a coffee house and I can pound out like 3 weeks worth of work in a couple hours. It's scary. If you need collaboration, think about having virtual meetings with people and keep yourself working and get the collaboration you need to keep activity levels up. Find new ways to do that. Make a list of what works for you because you're going to find it's as unique as you are. And work with your ADHD, not against it. Find out what works for you and share that with your boss. Teach your boss to be a better boss to you as an ADHDer. Make the most of ADHD because it is absolutely a superpower. Know that. Multitask when able. They'll say that nobody can multitask. ADHDers can multitask, and we do it quite well, unless we're hyper-focusing. So know that when the difference is. When we're able to hyper-focus, we're very focused on one thing versus multitasking. And tools, look at organizers, smartphones, timers, routines. Smart home devices can help us out and automate. Alexa, purchase this thing here so I don't have to go do it manually. Grocery delivery, simplify everything, automate it. And know that I still face challenges all the time. I still have challenges around my TSI requirements, asking me to do a certification test. I overthink everything and I fail it every time. And my company is really good at allowing me to run amok and do the best that I do, but those TSI requirements kill me. And be kind to yourself. You absolutely do it. And again, remember, this is a superpower. There are things that you can do that nobody else can do as an ADHD person. And matching you up with other people that can do this works really well too. So here's my own success tips. Kind of went through these as fast because I know we're running out of time here. And there's a lot of ADHD groups through Meetup. Consider doing this. These slides will be uploaded so you can get a hold of these links and join them. And with that, I will try to finish up to answer any questions, and please consider filling out the evaluation. Let me know if this helps you in your life, and my connection information is here too.